Hey guys, what's going on? BMcG here, and today we have the first installment of the tier list for 2023. This is the third total installment of the tier list. We did 2 in 2022. So the tier list is still relatively new, so we're still working through some kinks, trying to refine the form of this tier list. That is an absorbing man pun, if you guys caught on to that. If not, we'll talk about that in a bit when we talk about his kit. But just to start, I'll have timestamps below if you guys want to check and see when I talk about certain things. I'll also have the link to the tier list itself in the description below. If you guys are still here listening, please hit like, please subscribe if you're new. Can't talk. It would help me out, and that's just all I ask. I provide the link to the tier list below in the description. I know not everyone's going to watch the actual video itself and listen to things, so the least you guys can do, support your boy, do the YouTube stuff, and but yeah, to start, we made some changes again. So we moved the key from the right side of the screen to the bottom of the screen, because previously it was on the right side of like the champs up there. It'd be like right where my finger's pointing, so that would mean the champs would have to go the other way, and it was kind of shrinking the names, making it harder to read. So the solution for this was to put the key on the bottom, color key on the bottom, and then stretch out the champs a bit more. So if you're holding your phone horizontally, you should be able to read it while we're talking on the video. If not, the link is in the description for the list. We added a new emoji. It's the man running, aka ramp up and long form. So think of like man running, marathon. I probably should have added a woman on the other end, so it's not just a man, but who cares? If it's that big of a deal, I'll change it. But yeah, champs like Aegon, Strife, Sabretooth, they ramp up over numerous fights, so they get the emoji because they get stronger as each fight goes on. They're really good for like long form questing content. But there's also champs like Baron Zemo, who we'll talk about in a few, or Shuri, who can keep up large amounts of damage over time and refresh it, or have infinite damage over time, which is technically what Zemo has. His bleeds are capped at 99, or 99, but you can pretty much keep it going, and just they're indefinite is what I meant to say. So pretty cool. I think it's a cool addition because ramp up champs are becoming more and more useful, at least for questing. And then we have Labyrinth, we have Abyss, we have Gauntlet, and then we have this new EOP coming out, so it should be really cool to see where these characters get used. But without any further ado, we're talking about Absorbing Man, the first champ I want to talk about. If you guys are unaware, Kabam DLL, aka Daddy Longlegs, a YouTuber within our community. He works for Kabam, and this is his first character design. I'm super proud of him. I'm really happy for him. He's a good buddy of mine, and it's just really cool to see like his creative side actually in the game. I think it's really cool. I'm not trying to like gush too much about him, but I think it's really sweet to see, and it makes me happy for my buddies. So starting off, the prestige is pretty solid. It's top 10, so if you guys want to sig him up for prestige, it's a good investment. And he also kind of needs his signature ability, so if we go down to his sig ability, which is where I kind of like to start, right here, his forms will last 40% longer, which is very huge. That's at sig 200. And then he also gains regen when consuming morph charges, which you get from refreshing your forms and refining your forms. And then it also triggers on defense, so it makes him kind of more annoying on defense. He's a really decent defender in my opinion. But yeah, the 40% extra duration on forms is huge in my opinion. So you kind of want this dude at high sig, and the prestige is great, so it's not like you're wasting things. So I really like Absorbing Man. I think he has potential to be a top 5 Mystic in the game. And no, I did not slip up and say top 5. Skilled players are going to demolish so many things with this guy. His damage is bonkers if you play him right. He's going to shine. Like, I don't want to compare him to Gallon. I don't want people thinking like, oh, he's going to be this next broken thing. But there are matchups where Absorbing Man is insanely easy to play because it's working to his favor, and that will make him easier to play, less stressful, and therefore you'll be able to just wreck things without trying too hard. Similar to Gallon. Gallon just ramps up and he's insanely bonkers. So Absorbing Man is kind of similar to where he's got these matches where he's going to be nuts, but you could also be just as nuts in the non-ideal matches if you're a skilled player, which I think is just insanely cool. It's going to be fun to see people wiping the floor with so many champs using him. It's just going to be nuts. I think he has some serious potential. But away from the damage now, he has some pretty crazy utility. So he's got 2 modes. The special one gives him a physical mode, which gives him bleed and shock resistance. This also gives him 8800 physical resistance, and it also allows him to do physical damage. And then he also has a energy mode, which is like a magma looking form, and that's activated from a special 2. It gives him immunity to incinerate, cold snap, and frostbite, as well as 8800 energy resistance. That is some chunky resistances. And the awesome thing about this is that not many champs are going to be able to slow him down in terms of damage if you can play him right. It's just beautiful design, in my opinion. I'm not trying to like completely gush about the champ because it's my buddy's champ, but like it's kind of ridiculous. And then he also has a synergy that gives him immunity to poison with 2 very good champs. Oh man, it's awesome. So he can take the 2 hazard shift lanes in Alliance War, which I think is super cool. We've been needing a Mystic that can do that for a long time. So yeah. And then he also has targeted buff control. So indestructible, immortality, unblockable. Those buffs get their duration reduced by 90% if I remember correctly. So like using or fighting Hulkling, you're just gonna have those buffs fall off, and like that's an amazing fight for him, although Mystic Dispersion might get a little crazy there. And then if you guys want to read the spotlight, it's on the forums. DLL has some great tips in here. I'm not going to go over everything and how to play him, or like how his whole kit functions, but I'm going to give you guys like the TLDR on it. But he doesn't have a set special rotation. You use your specials based on the modes you want to stay in for the immunities or damage that you deal. But he has checks and balances to make those specials have like strong payoff, if that makes sense. So the whole goal with Absorbing Man on attack is to stay in a form and refine it. And you start in a form by activating it via pre-fight, so you default in your physical mode, and you could change it via pre-fight, and that will persist through the rest of the quest unless you change it again. And so let's say I start in the physical mode. I just want to drop my special 1 again to refine the mode, and then I get these nice benefits from doing so. And then you want to use a heavy attack against a non-stunned opponent. So if you punish a special attack, you punish a heavy attack, you chain that into your special attack, and that will carry over this massive crit rating that you get from hitting the opponent while they're not stunned with a heavy attack. And it just makes your damage like bonkers on these specials. But the way like this is kind of checked is that you have to pause these forms, and that's stressful to do in matches where there aren't buffs expiring, there aren't immunities that he's triggering via his, or there aren't debuffs failing to trigger because he's immune. So like if I used Absorbing Man against like some basic ass champ, it's going to be kind of stressful to keep up his kit. But if I am going against like Hulkling or Terrax, he's going to be nuts there. He's also immune to armor break, so that counts as one of his immunities, I believe. So yeah, he's just silly. I think he's going to be... I have him ranked conservatively. I don't want to go too deep into like his kit and everything, but I think I gave a decent gist on how to use him. You kind of just want to stay in the mode that you started in, and you want to stay in the mode that you want to be in for your immunities or damage, and keep that going. Keep cycling specials by chaining your first hit of your special, or first hit of your heavy, canceling special. He's just a beast. I wish I had more time to show gameplay, but I'll link some stuff below in like a pinned comment. The deep dives are great for showing off these champs. These are two of the best deep dives we've seen ever. I think the 2 deep dives were great this month. So that's where I am leaving Carl at for now, is 10th in the class technically. I think he's tied with Sorcerer, Black Widow, and himself. So it technically leaves him at 8. I think he has potential to be up where Diablo is at. So that's saying a lot of how highly I view Absorbing Man. He's just very skill dependent, and certain matches, but he's also like super easy to use in matches where he's meant to be used in. So yeah, I'm a fan. I think he's gonna be awesome. Next up, we have Baron Zemo. He's in between Blade and Aegon, if you guys cannot see him. Zemo is a skill champ, if you guys didn't know. Zemo is also sticking out a little too far, so we'll move him a little bit, shrink him a little bit, get that back on there. And then we'll go to his spotlight. So this dude has insane prestige. He's in the top 5, so if you guys are pushing prestige, you need Zemo. That's just how it is. The whole point of Zemo's kit is for him to feel like, I can't remember the actual term, I think it was Blofeld with a gun is what people were saying, is like, he's supposed to feel like he's narrating your death. So like, the whole way he works is he has these indefinite effects after ramping up. He can ramp up his Disorient, he can ramp up his Decelerate, he can ramp up these bleeds, and they're all indefinite, they all stay on. The bleed is an active debuff, and then the Decelerate and Disorient, those are passives. So he's got some cool utility there, but he keeps these up, and like once you do his loop, which is special 2, and then attack them while they're rooted, because the special 2 roots, you just tap a bunch of times, kind of like Rintra, but you don't want to get hit because he doesn't have a safety net for that. And then you drop your special 1, that will add even more bleeds, and then these bleeds are indefinite. So now you have like 1,000 damage per tick, 2,000 damage per second, if you get lucky with special 2 and then 2 special 1s. And then you could pretty much just slow play for the rest of the fight, because you pretty much have them guaranteed to die eventually, which is cool. I think that's a cool design that they leaned into, but like I said earlier, his bleeds cap at 99 stack. So you can get these bleeds up super high, you can get the Decelerate up super high, you can get his Disorient up super high, and then he shuts down a lot of things over a long fight, while also dealing pretty nuts, like pretty decent damage over the whole fight. He's not a Battlegrounds champ. That's just, gotta get that out of there. Gotta get that out of the way. He's a decent defender if you guys want to throw him on defense, but if you want to use him on attack, there's very few matches where he's going to be the top option or fastest option. Just throwing that out there. He's going to be decent in war because of his utility. He starts with 5 cleanse charges, so any non-damage, or any debuff actually other than stun will be cleansed. And then once the 5 cleanses are up, he will give himself a super chunky armor up. I think it's 8,800 armor rating, and he'll also root the opponent, and then you can just start attacking them even more. So he's a really good counter for certain characters, like Spot, for example. He's a great counter to Spot. I think Zemo could also be a decent counter to Quicksilver. He could also be a decent counter to Mr. Negative, although he's not like the hardest on defense. So I think Zemo's going to be pretty awesome in the game for at least Alliance War. He's not going to be super fast in Alliance War either. He's just going to be a safe attacker that you can use. His signature ability allows him to crit through the block, I believe. Let me go double check that I'm not... he gains 1,000 crit damage rating and can perform critical hits through the opponent's block. And when he fights heroes, attacks that intercept the opponent gain 1,000 crit rating. So he's going to be critting a lot. That's a huge part of his kit. He doesn't need to crit, but he just... crits are always nice, right? You always want to crit. But once you do your rotation, which is special 2 and then 2 special 1s, you can pretty much slow play and just hit their block. And, kind of play like Valkyrie. It's not going to be as strong as Valkyrie because you're not going to gain power while hitting their block. But you could you kind of just control the fight, control spacing, and be like, yeah, you're dead. You don't know it yet, but you're going to die. That's kind of how you play him. His Decelerate potency can get up to 100%, I believe, and his Disorient can also get up to 100%. So yeah, right here, on activation, inflict indefinite Disorient passive. So 1 special 1 and you shut down Spot's portal block, which is really cool. And then this also shuts down Mr. Negative's, I think positive energy is what it's called. It's the white stacks. I can't remember exactly which one it is, but it prevents him from ever reversing your controls. Special 2 will, where is it at? He's got the root. So each route that you do on the special 2, that will inflict an indefinite 50% decelerate, so you can stack that up to 2, so now you have permanent shutdown on slow. I don't think decelerate has the clause for class advantage for slow. So yeah, he's got a lot of utility. I'm kind of being conservative on where I'm placing him just because of how nuanced this kit is and how ramp up like driven he is. It's going to be interesting to see where he lands within the next couple of months, because we have Gauntlet coming out, we have EOP, we've got some stuff coming out where I think he can shine. And he's also a really good counter to Jessica Jones, who is a new, really tough defender. But like, there's really solid champs on this like list in the science class that I'm looking at, and he's a good counter to him. So it's going to be interesting to see how he fares for the rest of the game. But I have him right now in between Blade and Aegon. I think that's a safe spot for him. I think he's comparable to everyone between Blade, or I think he's the top of everyone from Blade, or no, himself to probably Night Thrasher. Like, everyone in that area, I think, can be interchanged, which a lot of you guys might disagree, but I think everyone in that area, like, one champ could be better than the other in certain scenarios. I mean, that's how it is with the whole tier list, but specifically that little window, like, there's like 10 champs in there where like they're all pretty much around the same where I'd rate them. But yeah, I mean, that's where Baron Zemo's at for me. For me personally, I don't know if I'm a huge fan of his kit because he's super ramp up oriented, but I also love the utility he has, if that makes sense. So I don't know, we'll just see where he lands and go from there. But I think we're starting semi-conservative for each champ this month, Absorbing Man and Zemo. Absorbing Man could have easily been top 5, and if I wanted to look like some smart guy in, like, 3 or 4 months, then people could look back and be like, oh, he was right on Absorbing Man. But I also want to be safe, because Absorbing Man is not going to be for everybody. I don't want everyone thinking that it's a champ for them. He's got a skill cap, and he's going to be useful and easy to use in the matches where you want to use him to begin with. So he's not going to be super skill driven there, but if you want to get the max out of him that you see certain people doing, that you will see people doing, you need to be pretty decent at the game. And some people just aren't. I'm not trying to be a dick, but that's just how it is. And then Zemo, I think he's going to age very well, but only time will tell how useful he'll actually be. A couple of value shifts that we have, starting with the science class. I moved Titania up. She was below Captain America before, and I bumped her up above She-Hulk. I think she's showing how strong she is in this current Battlegrounds meta. I wanted to bump up Anti-Venom as well, just because they are 2 champs who have easy access to stagger, and science champs with buff control are actually pretty interesting, because this meta that we have currently in the Battlegrounds victory track, if the opponent gains an armor up, they will power burn you, and these 2 champs can counter very annoying Mystic champs who are armor break immune by staggering them. So I think it's pretty cool how these 2 champs are being, like, spotlight thrown on them. Mr. Fantastic also has a stagger on a special 1, but I don't think that's the ideal way you really want to play him for this meta, nor do I think you really want to play him at all for this meta. He's a decent defender, but yeah. Skill, we still have Spider-Man Stealth going up. He's amazing with the debuff Detox tactic currently in Alliance War Tier 1, Tier 2. So we have him still there with that value shift. He's still amazing in Battlegrounds. He's not going to be great for this meta, but overall he's great. Valkyrie, we moved her up. You guys were telling me about it before. I wanted to start conservative like I'm doing with Zemo and Absorbing Man. We did. She's been amazing for Battlegrounds. She's just been awesome for this meta. She's been amazing for the last one. She's going to be amazing in Alliance War, amazing in long-form content. She's just a great champ. I don't think much needs to be said about her moving up there. We also adjusted like Hitmonkey, Mantis, Jabari, and Aegon. Aegon got dropped down. I don't think he's bad. He's just not as relevant. Although Gauntlet coming back might change that. So we'll see. For Mutant, we moved Domino up to the top of the tier. She's in the bottom of the top tier, and that's a clause with the synergies. So if you have Red Hulk on your team, she's just going to mow through things with heavy attacks. So yeah, we bumped her up there, especially just because how useful she is on Battlegrounds defense. And then I bumped Bishop above Professor X, and I also gave myself the bias emoji there because I'm very biased with Bishop. He's my first mutant rank 4. He still actually might be my only mutant rank 4. He's just a beast. He's super good, and he's an amazing two-way. He finds a lot of people struggling. I mean, mine finds a lot of people struggling against him in Battlegrounds. He's just been awesome. And then we also bumped Strife up. He's a great counter to the recent skill champs that have been added, Zemo and Tuma. He's a great counter to them. So I think he's going to age very well, especially with the Gauntlet coming back and then EOP. For tech, we bumped Howard up a tier to the top tier. This is more so Mike pushing me to do so. If you guys can see the emoji, the karate G. I love Howard the Duck. I think he's been heavily slept on ever since he got buffed. A lot of people cried nerf when he got buffed. And I think he's just a beast. This meta has shown he's an amazing counter to Domino because his signature ability gives him extra 15% base ability accuracy. So Domino's like crit, or not crit fail, her ability accuracy reduction field or whatever, where she lowers champs by 15%. He ignores it. And then he also has armor break on the heavies. He easily ramps very well when you can stun the opponent. The only thing, he's a potato against stun immune champs. So yeah, he's got his value shift up. I think he's going to be amazing going forward. Spider-Man Stark Enhanced still has it, the value shift up, because he's just a beast. I've seen people do like 9-hit fights with their Stark Enhanced Spider-Man. They get to 10 poise, and then they just parry heavy, and they ignore the victory track node overall. And I think Spider-Man's still just super underrated in his class. Him not coming as a 6-star quickly kind of hurt him, but I still think he's amazing. I still think he's a great champ, and I think a lot of people are going to get their hands on him soon, and he's going to be awesome. Guillotine's still dropping down for me. I just don't see her being useful anywhere in the near future. Cosmic, I don't think we made any changes really. I have like the top 4 Cosmic champs. I think they're all tied. I can't remember where I was at last month, where CGR was, but I have him at the 5th spot. I think everyone, or Hercules is clearly above everybody else. Then Hulkling, Gallon, and Null are tied for the 2nd spot. And I think CGR is next after them. His reliance on a 5-hit combo kind of holds him back sometimes. And I find Gallon, Null, and Hulkling way more flexible than he is for certain scenarios. CGR just has a bit of rigidity that those champs don't, and that's why those champs are ranked higher. CGR, Corvus, and Hyperion are kind of all equal, although I'll give CGR the edge over both Corvus and Hyperion. And then in the Cosmic class, we have value shifts to King Groot, Medusa, Arcus, Venom, Venompool. These champs that have power burn immunity in certain forms, they're pretty useful this Battlegrounds meta, and I don't know if this is going to be the new normal for these metas, but it's very clear that they had an intention here, that they wanted people to lean into the power burn immunity, and I would look into ranking up these champs in the near future if you guys don't have one of these power burn champs ranked up. A lot of people like to stick with the complete left side of that tier list, and you're not going to cover all the utility you need in the left side of that tier list. You need to dip down to the right side of the tier list a little bit and get certain bits of utility that you don't have. Hercules is great, but he can't cover everything. He's not power burn immune. He's not immune to certain things where other champs might shine. So if you guys are struggling with the victory track, it's like, look at your roster. I know the nodes are very hard. I've talked about it before in my streams. I don't think they're victory track nodes. They should be gladiator circuit nodes. But like, you gotta look at your roster and be like, yeah, this is a utility I'm missing, and I kind of need that in the future going forward. Is my whole thing to take out, or take away from this. Gore, he's getting buffed next month, and he'll likely be moved right next to Gamora, maybe even higher. We'll see. For now, though, I just don't think he's that great right now. He's too stressful. I'm not a fan. I'm going to leave him there. And then finishing off with Mystic, I don't think we have any any actual changes to the Mystic class other than Mordo getting that value shift up, and I might move him upwards in the future. If you guys are interested, I have links in these champs with the blue name with the underline. The Mordo one specifically is him demolishing Battlegrounds fights in this victory track. He's a beast. He's demolishing fights in like 9 hits. And he's just nuts. He's really good. So yeah, that is it for this tier list, at least this month. We're going to keep going in the future. I'm excited. This is fun. And, you know, I'll see you guys for the next video or stream. Be good to each other. Peace out.